Finding Deborah is the 21st episode of the first season of Everybody Loves Raymond. This is directed by Geoffrey Meyer, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I discuss various aspects of the episode, and I really thoroughly enjoyed this one. I wish we'd got a little bit more time with Dr. Nora. I'll talk more about that in a moment, but other than that, I thought it was pretty brilliant. So as I said, there are spoilers from now. It starts off with partly something that means nothing to me, but also something that I found to be really interesting because Raymond is interviewing Desmond Howard. I'm not into sports. I had no idea who that was, but we do have a really fun message because Desmond Howard said, I didn't write it down word for word, but something to the effect of, if you do a good job, you've got to let other people know. And it's kind of like being your own cheerleader. And I think in general, we are conditioned to not celebrate our own successes, at least publicly. But I like the fact that the suggestion here was that if you do a good job, it's okay to go to your boss and say, hey, look at this, I did a good job. It sounds weird, even me saying that out loud, but maybe that should be the norm. Maybe that's the way we should do things and be more happy to celebrate our own successes. So it gave me some food for thought, not a bad way to start things off. Then we have the main narrative kicking in. Ray goes home and Deborah is on the phone to a radio psychotherapist. She gets onto the radio for a brief moment, and then Dr. Nora calls her back and she actually wants to interview Deborah as part of a book she's doing on the American family. And she wants to interview Deborah in particular because she's part of a vanishing breed, the housewife. Those are the words from the episode. And Deborah's really excited about this. Raymond doesn't want to be there, but Deborah insists that he stays. And then Dr. Nora comes over. She's played by Mary Kay Adams, and I really liked the character. I liked her a lot, and that's kind of why I wish she stuck around a little bit longer because things got really interesting. Ray talks to her while Deborah puts the kids to bed, and it's worth noting there that Ray was going to do it because he wanted to basically get out of the way, but Deborah insisted on doing it because, of course, she wants to come across as this amazing mother and housewife, and Raymond ends up talking to Dr. Nora. Things go really well for about 3 seconds, and then Marie and Frank come in, and the noise the audience made at that point was fantastic. The reaction of the audience was brilliant because clearly things are not going to go according to Deborah's plans now that Frank and Marie are there. And we had a really, really funny line from Frank because Marie said to Dr. Nora, "You taught me to express myself," and Frank replied, "Thanks a bunch, lady," which I absolutely loved. And then Robert comes over, and again, the audience response to that was brilliant. And then Deborah comes downstairs, having put the children to bed, and realises things are chaotic, and there's a lot of noise. There are a lot of people talking over each other, and Dr. Nora is interested in everybody but Deborah. And then that ends that scene, and that's all we get of Dr. Nora, and I really wish we'd got more because I really liked the character. I really liked that scene. But nevertheless, things are still good after that point, and Deborah and Ray are in bed at the end of the day, and Deborah is not feeling great because she starts to feel like she's boring. Everybody else is interesting, they have fun quirks, and she's just boring. And Ray tries to get her to lick a bull, and she can't do it, and the following day, much to Ray's family's credit, they make the effort to make her feel better, but it kind of backfires because Marie and Frank and also Robert go over to see Deborah and kind of make her try and feel like she's not boring, but in a way that's very exaggerated, in a way that's very obvious. I think the word Deborah used was transparent. And on the one hand, yes, they completely messed it up. But at the same time, it's nice that they do care enough about Deborah to do that. We know Marie is very critical of Deborah, very condescending. But actually, in Deborah's time of need, when she's not feeling great about herself, even though her methods weren't amazing, Marie did actually step up and try and make her feel better, as of course did Frank and Robert. And it's not enough for Deborah. In fact, it's too much for Deborah in some ways. And we get this amazing performance. I've always said Patricia Heaton just gives the most incredible performances, as do the rest of the cast, of course. And she starts to mimic everybody. She mimics Marie, first of all, and then Frank, and putting her hands over her ears was a perfect choice. And then she was eating crisps, or chips, if you like, to mimic Robert. And I've never seen a bag of crisps so big. It is giant. And I'd love to know if you do get bags of crisps that size in America. You must do, because it existed. It looked like, if you're in the UK, it looks like one of the giant bags that the multi-pack of crisps come inside. But Deborah was just eating them loose, unless maybe they did just put the crisps or chips in there loose for her to eat. I don't know. I just found it was a very, very big bag of chips. And her performance was absolutely brilliant. What I loved as well is that they weren't offended. Marie and Frank were not actually offended by her impressions, which I thought was really great. Neither was Robert, but Robert didn't quite realise that she was impersonating him. And then we get a really lovely moment at night where Deborah's still not convinced that she is anything other than boring. And Raymond tells her, "You must be weird." And this is because, as he explains, there's something wrong with you for choosing to be in this family. And it made her feel better, and I rather enjoyed it. And then we got a brief impression of Raymond at the end as well. So I really liked the episode. Deborah was brilliant. I imagine there's a strong element of relatability there from Deborah's perspective. And everybody was an absolute joy to watch. Very funny, very well done. Yes, I wish the scenes with Dr. Nora had been maybe a little bit longer. Maybe if we'd taken a little bit of time from the licking of the bowl and put that there instead. But in general, the pacing was very good. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. Very, very strong episode. Fascinating Deborah is pretty brilliant.